Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another in the series hosted by the Jamaican Copyright Licensing Agency called The Conversation Beyond the Book. My name is Philippa Davies. I'm the Assistant General Manager at JAMCOPY, and I'll be your moderator for this afternoon's conversation. I'm so happy that you're joining us, and we certainly hope to have a few more persons come on as we go along this afternoon. Now, it's 23 years that JAMCOPY has been in operation, and our motto is fostering respect for copyright, encouraging creativity, and facilitating access. And what we hope to do through these monthly conversations is to facilitate access to useful information on practical issues. This is actually our third conversation. We began in June looking at resilience, key to dealing with life stressors. Then in July, we looked at estate planning. Having a will is the better way. And today, our third session, we'll be looking at retirement preparation 101. And we have a wonderful interviewee coming up to share nuggets of information with you. And she'll be interviewed by the manager for licensing and client services at JAMCOPY, Dr. Joan Pinkney. Now, I'm sure everybody has been to many Zoom meetings, but let me just remind you to keep your mics muted during the interview. There will be an opportunity for questions and answers at the end of the interview. We ask you to post your questions into the chat, and our interviewer will pick them up and field them to our esteemed interviewee. So let me just tell you a little bit about our presenter or interviewer this afternoon, Mrs. Patricia Reed-Waugh, Justice of the Peace. She's a retired chartered accountant and published author, learning to play the violin and steel pan and delivering medal-winning entries in the JCDC speech and creative writing competitions in her 60s and 70s. Patricia is credited with turning people's perception of retirement upside down. She designs and delivers presentations at retirement seminars to prepare pre- and early retirees for life in retirement. So, to tell us about Retirement Preparation 101, I now hand over to our interviewer, Dr. Joan Pinkney. Joan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Philippa, and let me extend my word of welcome to one and all for joining us. I know we have affiliates, I know we have licensees, we know we have other stakeholders who have joined us. We want to recognize Miss Lydia Rose, who is the General Manager of JCAP. We also, I'm just looking at the participants, but and we want to just welcome one, and I'm joining with Philippa's welcome, and to extend, I'm not sure if we have any board members on. I'm not seeing any names yet, but certainly just to mention that Mrs. Patricia Reed-Waugh is a member of our JAMCOPY board, and we are so delighted to have her sharing with us in this forum. Just in case you missed it, October 1 is celebrated as International Day of the Retired Person. And so October 1 this year was celebrated as such. And how timely can it be for us to be talking about retirement preparation in this webinar? And so we're very privileged, as Philippa mentioned, to have Mrs. Reed-Waugh sharing with us, and we look forward to what she has to share. Now, retirement is defined as the act of leaving one's job, career, or occupation permanently, usually because of age. Of course, we know that persons can retire as a result of several other things. So it can be years of service, as it is allowed by the respective company. But generally speaking, persons retire at the designated age, and in Jamaica it is 60. I gather from the ministry that they are gingerly moving towards 65, and I'm one of those who next year I will be retiring, and I am looking forward to it, celebrating that good old milestone and looking forward to what is in store. So we're going to be engaging this conversation with Mrs. Ridwar. And so welcome again, Patricia. Nice to have you. Are you ready for us? Because we're ready for you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joan. Yes, I'm
Yes,
here and ready for you. And just like also to, extend my own thanks to all those who have tuned in.
absolutely, absolutely. So let's go with our first question. Many persons seem to be very afraid, for want of a better word, of going into retirement. And so they sometimes, because of the fear, don't start preparing at the right time. And the operative word is right. What would you suggest the time that one, or when would you suggest is the right time for one to prepare, to start preparing for retirement?
The right time is actually when you start working. Believe it,
Ah,
believe it or not. Because there are many things that you can take advantage of at that point in your early working life. For instance, uh, if you start working and you go on a pension plan at that stage, you can actually, since maybe you don't have any children yet, you don't have any responsibility, you might be in your 20s, you're still living in your parents' house, you don't have any mortgage or any of those expenses, you can actually opt for the maximum pension contribution, so voluntary contribution, because at that point you don't have any responsibility. So what you want to do is opt for it at that point, so that when, for instance, you start taking on the responsibility of mortgage, you're getting married, and the child rearing and expenses and all of that sort of situation, then you can actually reduce your voluntary rate at that point, in keeping with the expenses that you have to, the obligations you have to meet. But
right.
before that, because had I known, I
Mm,
would have, the moment I jumped into a pension scheme at the office, I would have actually gone for the maximum contribution. Of
mm,
course, nobody explains this
right,
to
right.
us, and that is the unfortunate thing. Um, Also, you have to recognize that whenever you are coming, if you are going from one job to the other, you can, there are some facilities that allow you to take the pension along.
Right.
If you are not able to, then what you do, whatever amount that you get back, then you ought to be putting it into a long-term facility, rather than spending it on consumerism. So
Mm,
these are the things that you really need to know at the point where you actually start working,
right.
because then when you start preparing, and also it gets your mind into that mode, you start thinking of retirement the moment you start working.
Right, absolutely. So research has stretched that a little, and it has pointed to the fact that persons tend to be fearful of retirement. I don't know whether it is the age. And by the way, I see someone raising their hand in the chat, and I want to suggest that we wait, or recommend that we wait until the end of the presentation to ask questions. But just to respond to that one, they're asking whether retirement age is 60, generally in Jamaica. So you can give that response, and also to say, why is it that people are fearful of retirement? Is there any particular reason that comes to mind?
Okay, you were asking about the
The
retirement age.
retirement age, whether it is 60 or generally, or whether there's some stipulation. I suspect the person is asking whether there's stipulation for gender.
Uh, I think there might be a stipulation for gender, right?
Mm-hmm.
It depends. You have to check, because different jurisdictions do it differently.
Right,
But I know that they are trying to up the age,
right,
and quite rightly so, because the fact of the matter is that people are living longer, and
right,
they're healthier longer,
Right.
so that's fine. But in terms of fear, now what normally happens is that people who are 20 years old and 30 years old and even some of the 40 year olds, right? They don't fear retirement.
Mm.
Why? Because they don't think about it. They don't think about it at all. So it is usually the people who are, 50 and coming towards it. They are the ones who fear it because they have now started thinking about it because they realize that this thing may be imminent. And the fear really, it comes mainly because of the financial aspect. Because you start asking yourself at that point, if you start thinking about it, you start asking yourself, boy, do I have enough? Am I going to have enough? What is going to happen to me? And especially if you weren't thinking about it before and planning and preparing for it before, then it is usually the economic aspect of it. There is also the aspect, retirement and aging sort of correlate.
Yeah.
Uh, because what happens is that because of the age that you're going to be retiring, then you're older. Now, as you age, you start having health issues, and the body starts breaking down a little bit. So people start thinking about retirement in terms of, oh, I am going to I'm not going to be well, my health is going to deteriorate, and all that. So that in itself also creates an element of fear. And then we also have the aspect of, who are your role models? Who are your retired role models? Because if you if the people in your circle who are retired are miserable and grumpy and are stressed out and complaining and all of that, then you automatically get that impression of retirement. And that creates in your mind the whole aspect of, boy, I don't really want to retire because I don't want to be like them. I don't want to be that way. So the role models who you have around you, who are creating, the picture of retirement, that in itself can enable you to be fearful of it if they are not handling this thing properly.
Right. Wow. Thank you so much. Absolutely, the fear is real for some persons because the fear of old age, the fear of death, and somehow persons, for example, when they begin to write a will, there is this feeling that, oh, I'm going to die tomorrow after I make the full stop on the will, not
Right.
realizing that what you're actually doing is making preparation in the event, and very likely you're not going to die after you put on the dot
Yes.
at the end of the
But I,
will.
I, I should say to you that my perspective of retirement was a healthy, good one
Yes.
because of my mother. Because
Ah.
because of what my father died when I just turned 15. So mommy was the one who carried us into adulthood. And her retirement was a very seamless one. And when she was retired, we couldn't find her. She was doing this, she was doing that, she was involved with the scouts, involved with the social work, and volunteerism and all that. And she was just very, very active and
Yes. Yeah.
very, very energetic and so on. And that was actually my model for retirement.
Well, you are modeling it very well. Can I tell you the fact that I know of you and the various institutions and associations that you are involved in? and even agreeing to do this webinar with us this evening is an indication, and the kind of energy that you bring is a testimony of the fact that you are emulating your mother well. So I'm sure wherever she is, she's looking down and smiling at you. All right. So you mentioned though in the book that you wrote that you retired at 63, and I'm wondering, why was that? Is there any particular reason why you went for 63 and not 65?
Well, actually, it was because of illness.
Okay.
At the time, I was living in Nevis, one of the smaller islands, and I was having some serious health challenges, and it necessitated me having surgery within 2 years. I'd had two major surgeries, and the last one really scared me. And I was thinking to myself, boy, I'm down there, and we don't have the diagnostic facilities in that small island. Everything, they have to fly you out. If you're to do an MRI, they have to fly you out and all that.
Wow.
And I started looking at myself and looking at the seriousness of, and particularly the last surgery that was 7 hours of surgery. And even I thought I was dead after 7 years, after 7 hours under the knife. And at that point, I really had to look at myself, and I decided that I was just gonna stop. I was gonna stop. I was going to meetings all over the world and not eating properly, and flying long hours and all of that. And I just looked at my life, and I realized that if I continued like that, I would probably have had some sort of event. And I had already had a minor stroke some years ago, and I've actually had one since since I retired. So I know my vulnerabilities, so that was what caused it. But let me say this to people: you cannot assume that you are going to get to retirement age, get to the statutory retirement age. And this is why it is important for you to start preparing for retirement early, from the get-go, because you just don't know what is going to happen to you.
Absolutely.
An accident can cause that. Illness can cause that. Even the fact of your parents could fall ill, and you have to be the primary caregiver. I remember when my mother was diagnosed with cancer, and she went down she died 4 months after she was diagnosed. But that period, fortunately, I was working on a consultancy basis at the time with Deloitte. And because most of my accounting career was spent with Deloitte, they were really cooperative, and they just basically allowed me whatever time I needed to attend to my mother's care, recognizing her situation. But sometimes you might just have to look at your own working situation and say, maybe I might just have to just retire now.
Right.
Because to give care to your parents, or even to a child.
Right.
You see, so these are the things, and also if you're working in an environment where there's a lot of physical and mental burnout, like policemen, for instance.
Right.
I mean, you're running up and down chasing criminals every day.
Literally.
It gets to you.
It does.
It does get to you physically. And you want to, sometimes you just want to just opt out.
Right.
And so you always have to recognize that you may not go down to that age 60 or 65, as the case might be. And therefore, you have to start preparing yourself and ensuring that you do what is necessary to put yourself in a reasonable position.
Okay, right, and the fact is that, as someone said, a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do. Whatever it is that you need to do, you just have to
Yes.
woman up or man up and deal with it as it is. So we're going to segue now into looking, well, traditionally, let me say it like that, a number of persons tend to feel that retirement is, oh my gosh, I'm going to retire, hand on your jaw, and or hand on your head, and there's this feeling that everything is over. That's not what we're getting from you, I must tell you that. And certainly persons like you make me feel very happy. I'm very I'm looking forward to the time of the period of retirement. But the point I'm making is that generally there's this feeling that there's a disadvantage to being retired. And so we could list some of those. But what I'd like you to tell us, apart from telling us some of the disadvantages, what are the advantages of being retired?
Well, one thing I can tell you is that your quality of life. I believe that the major advantage of retirement is that you can have a better quality of life. Because basically you can do what you want, when you want, how you want, where you want.
Come on now.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Now, if you want to continue working full time, or if you want to work part time, you more or less are in charge of your time, because I do projects for people, but I am able to decide, okay, I'm going to do it this month. I'm not going to do something next month. And you see, Olympics is coming on. So don't ask me to do anything in the month of the Olympics.
Yes,
and I am able now to enjoy the Olympics, right? Because I have nothing to do. It also restores a balance to your life, because when you're working, it's a lot of pressure, and it's a lot of one way thing. You don't really get unless you're somebody who actively goes out and does other things, right? You have the responsibility of the job, and you have to leave early in the mornings, and sometimes, especially all these people who commute from St. Catherine and Clarendon to come into Kingston. I live off the boulevard, and I see them every morning in the traffic, and I can envision what time they have to leave their homes. I have to get up at 4 o'clock and get out by 5:30. That kind of a thing. So you spend so much time on the road, so much time doing that. Well, so when you're retired, again, you have the balance, and of course you have projects that you wanted to do. How many projects you wanted to do that you have not done? Personal projects.
I have a list. I have a list already.
I mean, even the very bucket list.
Yes,
the very bucket list that you make up for retirement. You make that bucket list because you can't fit in the time there.
Right.
So those projects, you can live anywhere. You don't have to live close to where you work anymore if you're somebody who has to come to work. For instance, when I was working at Deloitte, I would never live in St. Catherine, because just the idea of having to commute, I would not do it. No, I can live in St. Catherine because there is really nothing to there's no office and so on. And of course, you can travel as you like. And you can go and you can see your relatives and your friends, and you stay as long as they will have you.
until the welcome runs out.
until you see that they get
Yes, like
tired of you, right?
almost
Or,
like the sprinkling salt on the broom. You know that one, right?
until the visa
Yes, until the visa is
is
expired.
up. So there are there are many more
Right.
many more advantages.
Right,
And
but I'm thinking too that you've aptly very well described a situation where persons were employed and have a pension, but you do have situations where persons were employed, they're told that they had to retire based on the company's policy, but they really don't have that much pension, or they don't have any pension. And so, how can you speak to that a little bit? Because whilst you may have some funding coming in, certainly not commensurate with what you normally get when you're full employed full time, but you get a pension, you get something, so you can pay your bills and you can do certain things. But there are persons who, by virtue of the nature of their work or whatever the circumstances are, they really have nothing coming in. How do you treat with that? And of course, those who fall under a disadvantage.
all right, you're actually looking at one of those persons,
Okay.
because I was working on a contractual basis. And when you're working on the contractual basis, you, at the end of the contract period, you get an end of contract bonus. So you're not on any pension scheme. They give you an end of contract bonus. And I had been working on that basis for quite a number of years. Well, ever since I left Jamaica, and I went to work in St. Martin, and then I left St. Martin, and then I went to work in Nevis. So I had been working on this basis, and every 2 years I get this end of contract bonus. Now, that bonus ought to have been put in a pension, in some sort of a pension fund, because that in essence is what it is for. But of course, I went to the Olympics and the World Cup football and
So like I'm getting a confession.
and US Open tennis and all that sort of a thing, right? So self-employed persons and contract workers are at risk, and you must start thinking about what you're doing and getting into some sort of a retirement fund. The insurance companies, a lot of the finance companies, right? They do have retirement funds and special funds. The JMB and all those investment companies, they have funds, right, that are specifically for contemplating retirement, long-term funds. And when you put them long-term, you don't pay any interest on them. So you don't no, they don't take any tax. Sorry, they pay you the interest tax-free on them. I just had one mature last week, right? 5-year fund, and it is in contemplation of retirement. So those are the things that the people who are self-employed and the people who are contract workers, you need to do that, because you're not going to get a pension. So you, in essence, you have to set up your own pension retirement fund, right? And the pension payments are not going to be what you got as your salary. And I would encourage people to talk to their pension administrators Get in touch with your pension administrators and get a feel of how much you expect to get as pension, right? And then of course you have the whole matter that you have to look at the whole matter of the erosion of your savings, because you might be building up savings, but if you're still paying mortgage, if you still have children in university and all that, then your savings are going to be eroded. So you really don't want to go into retirement carrying a big debt burden. You want to discharge it. Fortunately, I discharged my mortgage a few years, maybe about probably about 7 years before I retired. So before you see, so I wasn't carrying that at all, and without any children and nobody going to university and all that, I was fortunate. But you have to look at your situation, see what your family situation is, see what your obligations are, and get a feel of what you're going to get down the road, and then you organize yourself. So in terms of disadvantage, there is a financial aspect of it.
Right.
But you also have one key thing is that you have this psychological aspect of it in terms of disadvantage. Because remember now, you are the general manager. All right? When those Christmas invitations come, the Christmas invitations come for the general manager. And all those bottles of wines and all that come for the general manager, right? When you are no longer general manager, retired, is a new general manager that getting all those invitations? You're falling off the social pages.
Absolutely.
So,
unless I put myself on another one.
unless you start you look at your whole social network and you
Right.
build that up before retirement.
Right.
So the day-to-day interaction with the clients and the customers and the co-workers and all that, of course, that is going to be be missed. You're going to miss that. And when you retire, some of the friends who you have may still be working, and they mightn't have that much time for you. And of course, your family, your children, even your children, your married children, mightn't have time for you unless you are going to babysit your grandchildren. And of course, you also have the risk, the disadvantage that if you slip into a sedentary lifestyle where you're doing nothing when you
Yeah.
retire,
Yeah.
you run the risk of the diabetes and the hypertension and all those diseases, because you're going to find that what you're going to be doing a lot is you're going to be eating a lot and not eating as well as you ought to, and so on. So there can be a disadvantage, to it. It's not all hunky dory,
Right. Right. So and I thank you for that. And you've actually answered most, if not all, of the second question, the other question that I was going to ask in relation to whether the disadvantages and just looking at retirement without the proper things in place, that it can be pretty daunting. And so you have also provided us with some skills or some tools as to how we can navigate in those circumstances. And so you're saying, so what if someone then is, say, 50, and they're saying to themselves, boy, it's 50 now and I have another 10 years. Say their company's retirement age is 60. So they have 10 years to go. What can they do in that time, in that 10 years, to provide for themselves or to set something up for retirement?
Okay. I assume that most of the persons on this are authors. because they are members of they're affiliates of JAMCOPY. You know the power of a book. Let me tell you something. I told you that I never really prepared for it financially as I ought to. You see this book here? This is a book that I wrote called Retirement: A New Adventure. And it is actually because of the book why I am on this interview. I have been able to use that book, and I am able to give presentations to different retirement seminars. I even gave a presentation at the library in Miami, in Cutler Bay in Miami. I have given presentations in St. Martin and all that. You see? So I want people to start looking at their book and seeing what can your book do for you. There is an author, Ruth Taylor. Ruth Taylor wrote a book called Write and Retire Right. Write, W-R-I-T-E, and Retire, R-I-G-H-T. And you should try and get that book, because what she is doing is she is showing you all the different areas that you can use your book to monetize for retirement. You can set up online courses just with your book. You can do coaching. You can do teaching. You can become an inspirational speaker and rake up some dollars in order to appear on different platforms. And you can utilize you can do like use your book and do like a how to something and market yourself on the internet. And I mean, there are so many things that you can do with your book. So, authors, the power of your book. Start looking at how you can use your book and monetize in order to for retirement.
Right.
And also, you have hobbies and passions. The things that you have as hobbies and passions, you can actually start monetizing them. Okay. One of the things you may have to do, you may have to get a little more skills, brush up on it, and all that. While you're working, you should be working on those hobbies. For instance, if you love floral decorations, then while you're working, invest some money into getting that skill up to scratch.
Right.
And when you retire, you can decorate for weddings, for funerals, for anything.
And the funeral thing would work well now.
Exactly.
I'm not being unkind, but it is what it is. Yes.
But take me for instance, and I saw Joy Simons Brown on here. No, both of us are musicians.
Right.
Okay, I played the piano. We played the piano and played the organ and all of that. Now, when I was working, I played for 11 years. For 4 years I played in St. Martin, and 7 years I played in Nevis, and I never earned a cent from playing the organ, right? Because I played for the church, funerals, weddings, everything free. But now that I am retired, and I now use that skill, and I am now able to play and earn from it.
Right.
You see, music was just a hobby.
Right.
But you now turn that hobby, turn that passion into an income generating activity. And that really, really helps. You can also think about downshifting, right? Basically, downshifting is if you are, let's say you are you are an administrator. You are the assistant to the prime minister. Okay, that's a high level administrator. Now, certainly, when you retire, you might want to go into anything as hectic, but there are doctors' offices that need a good person to deal with the patients and keep up records and organize the office. Lawyers and there are non-profit organizations that need a good administrator. That's basically downshifting, because you're not doing as high level a work as you used to do, but you're able to do something that utilize those skills in a way that gives you income.
What I'm hearing you say, and I really do appreciate, and I'm sure others are listening and are thinking, even though you use the principle of with the book, that what you're saying generally is that you can monetize your skills. You can monetize things that you can bring together, put them together, and you can earn from it, as long as it is focusing on a particular audience, that you ensure that and of course that is something that we should do our due diligence on, to ensure that what it is that we're trying to monetize, that there is actually a market there, because we can monetize something that may not bring in any returns. But I think that what you have said is so powerful. But you're going to add. Go ahead.
Let me give you an example. Now, I always wrote poems and skits and all that for fun. Okay? I wanted to test something. I was told that you can sell anything on the internet. And I wanted to test that premise. And I put up a gig on Fiverr that I will write a poem for you, a poem for your child, a poem for any occasion. The first job I got was to write a poem, and I was paid for the poem, and they took the poem, had an illustrator illustrate it, and the poem is now an illustrated children's book on an online library, an online children's library.
Wow.
And because of that, somebody saw it. A gentleman from Italy saw it and reached out to me and asked me if I could. He wanted to do a children's coloring book, but he wanted it to have verses on each of the pages.
Wow.
And I was able to do that and get paid for it.
Wow.
So really, any skill you have, any skill, any passion,
it can work.
any competence that you have can be monetized.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. And we have a lot of questions, and we want to get to some of them. Well, all of them, most of them, if not all of them. So let me just ask you, I was going to ask you, what has been your overall experience as you have retired? I don't need to ask you that question, because you are enjoying your retirement. So I am going to emulate you so that I can echo those same sentiments. But clearly, if you could give me 4 words to describe what the experience has been like, and then you can give us your final words before we go to the questions.
Oh boy, 4 words.
I can tell you one. You're grateful. I hear a lot of gratitude coming out of your experience. I hear a lot of fun coming out of your experience. I'll give you 2. So give me 2 more.
and I have learned so much. Wow. Let me just tell you, I have been on so many free webinars. I learned how to build a web page, how to do digital marketing. There are so many free, so many no cost things
To you.
out there. So I've learned a lot, and yes, that
You
is
are
it.
enjoying.
And also I'm able to impart a lot, right?
And it's very important, and as because of what I do, I know that it is important for us as we get in that age range, in that developmental range, that we want to give back, we want to leave a legacy, and that's what I'm hearing, and I must commend you with that, absolutely. So give us a final word before we move to the questions, because we have a lot of questions waiting for us.
Final word is, don't be afraid of retirement. Do not be afraid of retirement. Wherever you are in life now, just start preparing. If you haven't started preparing yet, then start preparing. And even if you are 60 years old and 63 years old, you can still, there is still hope for you. All is not lost. There are things that you can do now that can earn you, money that you can put aside and build up your fund or augment your fund or so on. So do not despair. All right.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Rido. I really, really do appreciate the wealth of knowledge and the great recommendations that you have provided us. So we want to go to the questions in the chat and see how much of them you can provide. Filippo, you want to go ahead with read them for us, or let me see if I can. You probably will identify them quick, short. Go right ahead.
No problem. Well, just to say my commendation, this was really, really riveting and exciting.
Absolutely.
And just Miss Pat smile.
Yes, man. Absolutely. Yes.
So
It turned up. It turned up.
For sure. And there are many commendations in the chat as well.
Yes.
So I see a question. Is the retirement age of 60 a standard age in Jamaica for all persons?
I think she did respond to that in a way. But yes, she did respond to that. So we can go to the next question.
Okay. Miss Pat, do you have the names of Jamaican pension schemes that are offered in Jamaican employment relationships? Are any schemes that you can mention or recommend? Is that something that you would be at liberty to do?
I would imagine that this is somebody who is not employed, because you're able to get your company sponsored, your employer sponsored pension scheme. If you were employed, that's what you would be on. But for self-employed contract persons, you can go to places like Guardian Life, Sagicor, Jamaica National,
Victoria Mutual, I think, as well.
Victoria Mutual. Okay, so you can actually go to them, and because they have special purpose schemes,
right,
that are targeted for retirement as retirement funds.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I should say also that people who have insurance policies, I think you need to take out your insurance policies, right? And look at them and see what you have, because I was surprised. I was not monitoring my insurance policies. I was basically just pulling off for medical for surgeries. And at age 65, well, it was a year after. It was when I was 66 that I realized that there was I was paying and I ought not to have been paying. And then I realized that there was quite a bit of money that had accumulated on my insurance policies.
Wow.
And I had taken them out. I did not take them out for retirement. You see? So, and I was now able to pull all of that matured at age 65 and put that in a special purpose fund. So you need to go look at your ordinary insurance policies and see what is there.
Great.
You'll be surprised.
Yes.
Great. Another question, is there any Jamaican legislation which directs employed individuals as to when he or she can retire and how much income is available?
No, because you have professions, right? Different professions that have different retirement conditions.
Plans, okay.
Right, conditions. Okay, there are certain professions where if you have worked so many years, then you can retire. So you either get to age so, or you have worked so many years. Okay, so it's not just a standard thing. Like the civil service, teachers, police officers, and I imagine nurses and all those people. And they have unions. There are unions that negotiate special conditions and so on for their members. So that basically is a response to that.
And if I could also add that for public servants, there's a new act that was passed in 2017, the Pensions Public Service Act, which is amending the retirement age. And as you said, there are different categories of persons may retire earlier. But the move, as Dr. Pinckney said, is to get towards 65 being the normal retirement age, but they're phasing it in over the next, I think it's 10 or so years, from the 60 to 65. So perhaps, participant, you could check that act, Pensions Public Service Act of 2017.
Thank you, Filippo. And another thing I'm going to mention is the NIS. NIS pays a pension for all who have worked in Jamaica for a specific time. If you have worked over a specific time, you get an NIS pension. It is a little pittance, okay? But what they have done, recognizing the pittance, what they have done is they have actually increased your pension contributions. So you are now contributing more for your NIS. Your NIS contribution is actually now more than it used to be. So it's now 3%. At one stage it was 2.25%. Then it went to 2.75, and now it has gone to 3%, because what they recognize is that the NIS fund would probably be depleted if they don't do that. Okay, but don't bank on NIS. It is just a pittance. And your cable bill, put it that way.
All right. Another question, the pensions payments can be more than one's salary at retirement, but most employees are not told how to achieve that. Would you disagree or agree with this comment?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
The pensions payment can be more than one's salary at retirement, but most employees are not told how to achieve that. Would you agree or disagree with that comment?
It depends on what your voluntary contribution is. That is what I was saying. That if you are making the maximum voluntary contribution, then what you are doing is augmenting the payout on your pension scheme. So this is what and let me just qualify this here. I'm not a financial advisor, okay? So I'm not a licensed financial advisor, and so let me just qualify that. But if you start from early and you make your voluntary, the voluntary portion of your contribution, you push it up to the maximum. What you are actually doing is guaranteeing that when you retire, you are able to get a significant sum.
Could you say something about annual income returns, tax returns? What do retirees and pensioners pay or required to pay?
Well, as long as you're working, you're supposed to pay you're supposed to pay taxes. You're supposed to file your taxes, and just in the normal way, you get the same 1.5 million that are tax free that other people get, for the individual, and they also give you an extra 80,000 for as age relief, and if you're on a pension, you get another 80,000. So in that case, you will get 160,000. I know that the CCRP is making representations to the Ministry of Finance, because this is a matter that is of concern to the organization. The CCRP is a Caribbean community for retired persons, and I see one of the distinguished members here, Dr. Jean Small, here, CCRP stalwart.
Thank you very much. Hello.
Yes, I see you. So the CCRP is like an advocate group for retired persons. And by the way, if you are 50 years old, go join the CCRP. They have a health scheme that is going, and I think there is going to be a move for them to lower the age a little bit. But the CCRP is a good organization to join. They have like over 70 discount partners, and some of them you get 10% discount. I have seen some of them with 20% discount and all of that, right? So that is a good organization for you to join.
Great, thank you for that, Ms. Pat. Joan?
We're not hearing Dr. Joan. I see her mouth moving.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm saying that we have been blessed with a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information. We really do want to express our sincere thanks to Mrs. Reedwall for coming and sharing as she has. We want to acknowledge our general manager who is in the house, and we want to ask her to say a few words before we go. But let me just again express appreciation to all the licensees represented, the affiliates represented, the other stakeholders from JAMS and JCAP and JIPO and other such stakeholders who have joined us. We are really very happy that you could have taken the time to share with us, and I'm sure you're saying it was worth it. Mrs. Reedwall has a wealth of knowledge. She's retired herself and really enjoying it, and so I hope your perspective on retirement has changed. Certainly mine and has been enhanced. And I'm not going to try to bombard her with you calling, but she is a member of our JAMCOPY board, and so if you need consultation, let me say that, and I sound like I'm taking on her as her manager. If you need consultation in any regard, for a fee, I would like to think that she would not turn you away, and so. But we want to express a deep appreciation, and we want to wish her all the best as she continues to do her part to leave a legacy, leave a great legacy. Certainly, she's carrying on the baton from her mom. And what a story, what a fabulous, brilliant, lovely story. And so we all need to step into that and try to embrace some of those things that she has shared with us. So thank you again, Mrs. Reedwall. And
It was my pleasure.
someone is asking for a list of those organizations, but you have to join that organization first, and then you can enjoy some of those benefits that they have to offer.
I actually see that question came from somebody who I know is a member of CCRP. And what you can do is just go on the website, ccrponline.org, right, and look on the website, and there is a list of discount partners on it.
Great.
And the good thing about it is that some of the discount partners are like doctors and, you know, those service providers that we would need at our stage.
Yes,
you see, so so go look some flower shops and all that.
Right. And just for persons who don't know what CCRP is, it's Caribbean Community of Retired Persons, and you did say that. So it's Caribbean Community of Retired Persons.
For retired persons.
For retired persons, and Philippa has just placed that in the chat, so we can make a note of it. Because sometimes, you know, the headspace don't hold it so long, so you have to write it down quickly. Thanks again, Mrs. Reedwall. Go ahead.
Bert's Auto is a discount partner.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yes, thanks again. And we want to ask the general manager if she has any comments before we say ta-ta to everyone.
Good evening. Good evening to everyone. And I mean, Patricia has been her usual self. We are JAMCOPY, particularly the staff and on the board, is very well aware of Patricia's exciting and infectious nature. And we really were pleased to share that with the wider JAMCOPY community this afternoon. A very well-rounded and really impactful session. Thanks again, Patricia, for volunteering to guide and to tell us all of these things that we should know about. For example, I started logging on whilst you were talking. I switched to the CCRP website. Because I'm right there. So that's one of my main takeaways. I shall be joining. So I didn't realize that the age for joining was as low as 50.
and we have an annual general meeting coming up next week or so, and it might even get a little lower.
So you see, since it is so low, and I fall in that low category, I shall be applying for membership, because you cannot have. The truth is that you can't have too many options,
right?
And places where you can seek to make the burden a little lighter.
Yes.
So that is a good thing. So yes, thank you all for joining this conversation series. The series continues next month. It's not going to be a conversation beyond the book next month, but one that is geared for our, it's actually a repeat of a session that we've had before. And I see Dr. Jean Small on, and I know she was on at that one, where we talked about the importance of data in this business and why it is that our affiliates need to get their data current and up to date at JAMCOPY, and why you need to send us the information, and why you need to let us know if you move, if your telephone change or email change, or if you have any new publications, why it is. Because many persons, since they joined JAMCOPY years ago, have not updated their records at JAMCOPY. And so we are on that thrust, because it's very important that we do this. So the next session in November will be a repeat of a previous webinar we had dealing with data collection, the importance of data to JAMCOPY and to you as we seek to manage or help you manage some aspects of your copyright. So good evening, the rest of the afternoon. All of you, continue to stay safe, and thank you very much for joining us for this conversation series. Walk good.
Thank you, and have a good rest of the evening again, everyone. And Mrs. Reedwall, a final thank you, and God bless one and all. Thanks, Philippa, for the usual fabulous support as we continue to serve our licensees and our stakeholders and our affiliates.
Thank you, Dr. Pinkney. Thank you, Ms. Pat. Take care, everyone.
You're welcome.